Now, what we're really happy with, and where all my time has been going, is this garden up in the front. This garden is at least 2,000 square feet. It's let's see here, 100, yeah, 2,000 square feet, and we have 3 rows, I think 35 tomato plants, and these are a slicer variety because those seem to be what we like to eat the most of. And I guess we didn't think that they would all survive whenever we were getting them in the box. Some of them look pretty puny, and you can see the ones in the back here, they had compost on the ground the longest. So we started putting compost there probably last September, before the pigs moved up here to till all this land. And then when the pigs were here, they were not in that corner very long. So that area was allowed to stay under compost, manure and compost, and undisturbed for a long period of time. And you can see the difference. These up here, the pigs did get to spend time up in this area, even though it was fertilized. But I think in part, what's going on is when you didn't disturb the compost, it stayed warm. It kept the worm activity active, and they were able to digest and bring those nutrients down into the dirt. It's really good quality, so I'm looking forward to emptying the barn and just putting it straight over here as soon as we start getting empty spaces in the garden. And we have tons of tomatoes showing up. And let me show you something else interesting here. This was not a tomato plant that we purchased. This was a sucker off of these other plants. So I cut it off this and I just stuck it in the ground, and now we've got another tomato plant. And some of them, it looks like just about every one of those that I cut off as suckers have rooted. And I don't know if they're going to do anything, but I want to give them a chance. But look at the difference. We've got this patch of tomatoes in the area where the pigs were on the land for a long time versus this undisturbed patch of tomatoes. And they're all the same tomato. They're all from, there were 2 different places that we purchased the tomatoes, but they're dispersed in here. So same variety, 2 different nurseries, but both of those nurseries have some over here, and both nurseries have some over on this side. So it is a soil situation. This is the 2nd year we've planted. And let's go ahead and go on in here. Spend a lot of time in this section, and you can tell there's been a lot of hands-on activity. These are also some pepper plants, and there's 3 different varieties. We've got like a banana, some green, and looks like we're already getting a lot of peppers. So I'm very impressed with that. These are some tomatoes. There's 4 tomatoes in this section, and then another row of peppers. And we started some squash by seed. This was something else, and I had to move it, and it didn't work out so well. But you can't win them all, and that's okay. But there's another squash plant. Could be squash, could be zucchini. This is where we attempted to do spinach, and it came on a pallet, and they didn't look good already when they came off of the pallet. So I'm not going to be very hard on myself, but it's a little late for spinach. I put them here in kind of the shady area, and these 2 have done well. I could probably get something off of those 2 plants. But there again, some more spinach, and it just did not make it. So, have not learned spinach, never grown spinach. Might have been what you call an impulse purchase, that you see them in the skip in the store and they look so good. And this is cucumber. So these are they're called pickling cucumber. I don't think they got a special name or anything. But they're doing a great job taking advantage of their space. You can see all the little flowers. And there's just this little patch of spinach here and a little patch right there because I kept it in the shade. Over here, let's see, this is okra in these 2 rows, and I planted them a little late, but they're starting to get up there. I can't complain. I'm impressed that, I'm not sure what's happened here. It's like a little squirrel activity or little kid's shoe print. Happens. Gotta pick your battles. But anyway, there's two rows of okra, and cucumber goes all the way down, and this row here has cabbage. It has more squash seeds in this one, but not all the seeds came up. But to explain that, some of the seeds were old and they may not have been stored properly, but I was going to give them a chance, and so I can't. I don't know. I'm not disappointed. These are sugar pumpkins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this seed is really old, and I kept it in the freezer, but it has come up, but we will see if it fruits. So, excited about that. Let's see how many squash plants I might have been able to keep. Here's 1, 2. They're about 2 feet distance. Okra's doing really good here in the middle of the garden. Here, there's a really nice one. I would say that I probably planted this stuff a little late, but after that heavy freeze we had, and then there's more that finish off the cucumber row, and I'm impressed that they all practically came up except for the one on the end. So let's look at the draws. What seed might still be good and what not. And I'm not sure. I debate. You know, I see this bald patch in the garden and I so badly want to fill it in with something. But I only have so much energy to make it through the day. And you can tell I'm slacking off a little bit. I got a tomato plant here that needs to be suckered and hoisted up on this pole. These 2 are Cherokee Purples. And I think this ground might be a little poor for them. And so I need to do some side dressing. Just put some good rich stuff around them. When I planted them, I didn't just plant them directly into junky soil. I excavated out a bowl. I put in good rich soil from up in that back corner where those nice fat tomato plants are. So they have the same soil, but it's just not as deep a concentration. So maybe the roots got to the poor soil and just has stunted. They also were planted later than the slicer tomatoes. So many factors can be involved, but I'll make a mental note to come back here and do some side dressing. And this one is a little miracle. You can see some purslane that I found. That's something that you can eat. I don't often eat a lot of it when I do, but it's like a salad garnishment kind of thing. It's not bad tasting. But this tomato survived the pigs and came up all by itself. So this is a volunteer tomato. It would be a Rutgers tomato, which was an heirloom. My slicer tomatoes are not heirloom, so I'm not expecting much activity out of them. We're just going to eat those. This one I may keep the seeds of since it was so resilient and has acclimated to the soil type. So coming back down the hill, we've got the squash, the 2 okra rows, and this is cantaloupe. And that came from a melon that was very good. And I'm hoping those seeds are going to make it. And they have germinated. So I can't, that's the first step, do they germinate? So we have cantaloupe and pumpkin. And This is Clay's favorite. He's got this. We've got strawberries. So it was a wonderful windfall. Someone just gave us these plants, and we counted 167 strawberry plants. And every time it sends out a runner, like this little rogue thing right here, whenever they send out a runner, we keep weaving it back into the center and hoping that it will take over there. And you can see quite a bit of take activity going on in between the two original rows of strawberries, and we're still getting some strawberries. There's a few in here, and of course I got the bird net on there. Funny story, I caught a baby robin in this net, and I pulled them out and I took them to my little side garden. Now that little baby bird is not afraid of me, and he will come around, and his mom and dad are there too, and they feed just the one robin baby. And this is the only trellising we have this year. Last year we had a lot more trellis. But this is white half runner green beans, and we've only done the 2 rows. I'm not sure what's going on with my family, but they've decided that green beans were not necessarily their favorite. But I think that looks really good. You know, it gets the red contrast on the poles. And next door to it is the onions. I can't remember what type of onion it was. Probably a white, just a general onion. I'm not sure. My husband bought them. And over here, where I'm still weeding, see my little weeding station, and I'll explain that here in a second, but these are potatoes. Now they are mixed potatoes. There's I've got red, I've got Yukon, I've got Irish cobbler, and they're mixed in here. So funny idea or story here. My husband, we had a large batch of the seed potatoes, and I hate to let a little one not have a chance at trying to do its plant thing. But Richard's a little more stern about what he does with potatoes. He's okay with getting rid of small potatoes, and I honestly just need to eat them and not feel sorry for them. But my potatoes got long and leggy, and they shot out these big shoots, and they had like little bitty leaves, and they were like white, purpley pink, long. I mean, like shoelace long. And Richard started taking those shoelace eyes off of his potatoes, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what are you doing? Don't do that. There's not enough energy left in the tuber and the potato to, try again." And so I said, "Don't do that to all of them." And so we have an experiment. There's 5 rows here, and he has 3 rows, and I have 2 rows. And my potatoes got to keep their long shoelace eyes, and he took all his off and even cut some of his potatoes in half before he planted them. And my potatoes, we haven't pulled any, but I've taken a sneak peek, so expect a video about that later, or at least some photos and a little recap. But my potatoes were green early, and they got busy making potatoes early. His potatoes had to start from scratch, and I'm impressed that they've made it to this point where they look leafy and thick, because for a long time they kind of look like that. They kind of look like that potato. And this is one of those little potatoes. This was like a marble sized potato, and I don't know what it's going to give me, and that will be a nice little surprise. But what I do for my weeding practices. Okay, so being careful not to step on the specimens here. What I will do is I have a white bucket, And I have 2 milk crates, one that I sit on and one that I keep as like a little table. And then there is a black bucket. And here lately, let's get over here lately, there's been mosquitoes. So I got my citronella candles, which I'm about to light. But the other black bucket, I'm keeping all the bad stuff that the pigs cannot eat. And the white bucket, which has just been recently emptied last night, the white bucket gets all the good weeds and grass and poke salad and all this wonderful good stuff. And I throw it over the fence to the pigs, and they eat every bit of it. So they get a salad to complement their pellets, and they eat every bit. So I imagine that they enjoy it very much. But this is often where I am when I'm not doing a whole lot of my other things that I do here. But people will drive by and I will wave and honk, and they honk, I wave. But y'all knew that. Another tactic I have going on is putting old soppy hay on the edges of the potato beds to kind of help with moisture control. So as I'm weeding, I'm following along and putting the straw on the row. Now, that's a pretty extensive garden walk, but things are going well here, so I cannot complain. What I will do too is I put a chicken in this cage every now and then, and I move the cage as it's under the shade of the tree, and I move it up and down this row, and you can see where it's going, like a little train. So this is before the chicken comes around. This is during chicken activity. I've already moved it, so, but they get a bowl of water, there's extra water, and then this is after the chicken activity. So they do a lot to help me control weeds where the aisle is wide enough for this thing to come through. So I'm thinking next year that's going to be part of our garden design, is to make sure this width of cage can go in the rows. And so that's our garden.